Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Well, it's been an interesting week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we're going to talk about Barbie a little bit because we did see Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Not too much, but a little bit. But also, so I have been doing some research. Apparently, listeners, if you didn't listen to last episode, you're shit out of luck. Go listen to it. Sam and I, we go into detail about the SAG-AFTRA strike, the WGA strike, how it affects our podcast. Yeah, so if you want all that info, go listen to that one first. Because now I have updates. So before, we wanted to strike in solidarity with the artists and creators, but now it looks like no, we're kind of we have to, because according to SAG-AFTRA, I can't even talk. According to SAG, podcast, ours in particular, falls under the rewatch / companion category.
Ooh.
And those are struck. Those are considered promotions.
Gotcha.
So we can't really, we don't, this is a rewatch for sure. But yeah, so it's really murky on the internet right now with all the online content creators, because nobody really knows what their content falls under, because it's so broad. Everything that's all the content that's out there online is so broad, so everyone's falling into different categories.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're definitely in murky territory, which would involve strike content, yada yada. So if at some point we find out that hey, we could do Final Space episodes, I want to do that. But right now, even it just looks like no, it's a no-go. And SAG's been pretty good. They're responding to people on Twitter. They're responding to emails. Just people asking hey, this is our show. Can we do this? Can we do that? But we're already 2 weeks into this at least. The longer it's going, the more people are messaging them, and it just seems like they're having trouble keeping up with everyone.
Yeah.
So there's so many people I follow online who they're having to pause and restructure the whole show for the time being to see what happens. I'm wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only two shows, because one of the people I follow, they watched that I know for a fact you could do is Ben 10 and Batman the Animated Series. Well, that's pretty cool.
Interesting. Why is that?
It's whatever deal they had there, and they're two separate ones too. They fall under a particular category.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would love to do Batman anime series, but at the same time, you're talking, that's a long one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just trying to figure out right now what we can and cannot do during the strike. And nothing but love to them, all of this shit would just end if the studios ponied up some cash. That's literally it. It's so small. I don't know if you saw the thing online. They posted a pie chart of the percentage of what they're asking, and it's so small it wouldn't even show up on the graph. I was like, oh my god.
Just it speaks to the greed of these companies,
Yeah. And everyone was so happy that Bob Iger came back, and now it's dude, you're showing your true colors right now, man. That sucks. So in happy news though, I guess it's happy. It should be happy. We should be celebrating it. But Hollywood had a very good weekend this past weekend.
Yeah.
With Barbie and Oppenheimer. Made a lot of money. And that should be further proof of why you should be paying your artists and creators a decent wage. Yeah. So we saw Barbie. I loved it.
Yeah.
A lot darker than I was expecting. But whoa.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people online were saying that for everyone who started the day with Oppenheimer and then finished it with Barbie, they had it rough. They're they did it wrong. They should have started with Barbie. I was like, oh man.
Although I don't know, because I yeah. See, okay, because neither one of us did Barbenheimer,
No.
and yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like uh I didn't want to start the day off off with it, but I feel like it would have been a better decision. Like go in like earliest showing possible for Oppenheimer, have the rest of my day to just live in an existential crisis. Maybe go for a
Hmm.
walk,
Hmm.
have a nice lunch dinner sort of thing, and then go watch Barbie and like still have an existential crisis, but it also ends, I feel like, on a happier note than, you
That's
know,
true. Although I haven't
yeah.
seen Oppenheimer, so I'm not sure how it ends. Maybe it ends on a happy note.
Uh, I
I
don't
don't
know. I don't
know.
know. Subject matter alone, I just feel like the
Yeah.
better way to go is Oppenheimer than Barbie, you know?
So there's some very interesting videos I was watching. I don't know why I'm bringing it up because I didn't. I it was a series and I didn't finish watching them all, but it was basically from the Japanese perspective and how they feel about the Oppenheimer movie coming out
Uh,
and why there isn't a lot of hate for Americans from the Japanese people. And it was
mm,
really fascinating stuff. I don't. I'm just gonna butcher, the history of it. So I'll just tell you to go Google it. Go look it up on YouTube. It was really fascinating stuff that like I hadn't even really considered. It's like, oh yeah, you do think there would be a lot more animosity, and if there is, it seems to be more hidden because it's not something we really see culturally speaking. Granted, we're in
mm,
America and we see mostly American content,
right.
but yeah, I don't know. Like everything between cultures, like it seems like there's in fact it seems like there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love for America from the Japanese cultures that we see. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to learn more about that.
Yeah.
And we have a friend moving to Japan very soon, so I'm
Yeah.
really interested to talk to her about that.
Yeah. Get her perspective on that.
Hmm.
Um, I will say that like yeah there has there obviously like now that the movies are out like there was a lot of talk and backlash, and a lot of people were upset about them sort of uh not like glossing over but just not showing the bombs dropping,
Mm.
uh which like again like we haven't seen it so I can't really give my opinion on that.
Hmm.
Um, I think I understand why it's not in the movie. Not to say that it's not an important part of the story, but like that's not the central focus of what the story is. And I also just tend to be on the side of everybody who has said that they also don't want to see that perspective from essentially just from a white person.
Yeah,
Not when there is an entire history of cinema from Japan
yeah,
explicitly talking about those events
yeah,
happening to themselves and how long it has been, how long they've had to essentially like live in that and
yeah,
grow out of that. So
yeah,
like on that front alone, I'm kind of like, yeah, like I don't like, yeah, I guess it sucks, but I think for a more nuanced perspective, I think I would just choose any number one of the, like, and very, it's not like this is like like indie cinema either. Like Akira
yeah,
Kurosawa has made several pictures on it. Miyazaki has made several movies about, arguably all of his movies in some way are about war
hmm,
and post trauma of coming out of the war. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, look, I tend to be more positive. I don't think that like it couldn't have been done by a white guy. It couldn't have been
Sure.
done by Christopher Nolan. But I think also, like you said, this isn't an indie film. Like I don't know, you have to pay a lot of money to do that.
Mhm.
especially because from what I'm hearing too, Christopher Nolan used like zero, if not, or maybe barely any CGI in this. So it's like,
Mm,
how much money are you going to put into showing that you're crossing this weird barrier? Like, is this there for the goal would be to put it in your movie to show the devastation, you know?
yeah,
Being in a blockbuster movie, how do you do that without it being spectacle? You
yeah,
know, this
yeah,
isn't a Roland Emmerich movie. So I don't know. I unfortunately times are changing and showing how just screwed up our education system is, and how little people actually know of the world around them. But ideally, it's like you don't have to show it. You should know.
yeah,
I know our education on it from public schools in Texas. We learned about it. We probably didn't learn like the actual. We didn't get the full grasp of it. You know,
yeah,
that's something I don't know if you could get the full grasp of it learning it in school at such a young age. But as adults, I feel like okay, we have a much better understanding of it. You know, so I don't know how you would teach that.
hmm
Yeah, I don't know. I like if I was making the film because that's the first thing I thought. Like, well, I wouldn't do it. Like, because to me, it's like you should know the devastation of it.
yeah,
It's kind of like the Oliver Stone 9/11 movie. It kind of like not that it was a bad movie, but it was a disaster movie, and like it feels kind of wrong. It feels kind of wrong because you're like, this is fun. This is a
yeah,
disaster movie, you
yeah,
know, and it shouldn't be like it shouldn't feel that way, especially too because it wasn't not that long after the actual event, you know.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. Like that's something as a guy who has no real connection with the culture or the people or the history, I can say and not seeing the movie, I could say like I maybe I would prefer not to see that.
yeah.
So I don't know. But that could also just be glossing over it.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, it's also not like the only moral conundrum that's come out of this movie because apparently there is also an entire community of people who were affected by just the testing
Oh yeah, yeah.
of the bomb,
Hmm.
and that none of that is mentioned in the movie either. And it's also like far be it from me to play devil's advocate because one, the devil doesn't need any more advocates. Um, I do understand the pain and the anger of having this like 3 hour movie not touching on either of those topics,
Hmm.
or like not showing them in any way. Um and I guess the only thing I really have to say to that is just like that is just down to the filmmakers and
Hmm.
whatever story they want to tell. And if that story isn't relevant to the story they're telling for Oppenheimer, then that's kind of it. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, there are books, and I think the better way to go about it would to make a documentary anyway,
Hmm.
because find a documentary or make one because then you will the the bias that is implicit in movies and especially in blockbusters, I think will be significantly lessened uh
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. And and like you said, that is the filmmaker's choice. I don't want to live in a world where filmmakers have to make films a certain way to try and appease everyone. You know,
Right, right.
and like I don't know a lot about Oppenheimer later in life, so it's like, was he directly affected? You know,
Yeah.
by those communities. I have to imagine he was, but sad to say, who knows? Like if he wasn't, then it holds no place in the film, you know? It might be a footnote at the end of it. And I would rather, like, if I was connected in any way, if that had impacted me, I would rather tell the story about that than just be a line or a footnote at the end of the movie, or
Yeah.
just a shoe in, like just half-ass. Well, we have to bring this up because you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You still have to tell a story, and you still have to make it good. You have to make it work for the film. So unfortunately, that you got to cut a lot of stuff. Maybe that is something better saved for its own documentary. Speaking of the other dark existential dread movie of the weekend, let's talk about Barbie.
Yeah.
It was fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was so fun. It was I will say it's like it's maximalism cinema, probably like to uh to the extreme.
Mhm.
Uh it is, man, it is such a movie. It is there's so much going on. It is one of those movies where it's like watching it only one time is overwhelming. I
Mhm.
definitely felt just so overwhelmed watching the movie. Like, and it was so weird because we watched it in like a packed theater, and I feel like for maybe like the first like 20 minutes or so, not everybody was like laughing, or
Mhm.
not everybody was like really feeling it. And I feel like it is one of those movies where it's like I think it takes about like 15-20 minutes for you to like really get your
Mhm.
bearings in,
Yeah.
you know?
I there were a lot of moments even further in the film
For
where I
sure.
I thought there should have been more people laughing. I think it was a lot more fun than maybe the audience was having. Like, I don't know.
Right? Okay, that's not just me.
No, there
Honestly, I feel like you and me were having the time of our
dude,
lives.
me too. Like, you had two straight men in there laughing at some of these jokes. A lot of them were at the expense of straight men, but then
Yeah.
like everyone else in the audience was just like quiet. I'm like, what the hell? What is happening? So, okay, what about, because we did go see it with a lot of people from work. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you haven't been at work this week. I'm like, what
Oh,
was
well,
everyone thinking?
I was there Monday.
Were they talking about it? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Kayla loved it. Kayla
nice.
thought it was great. Um, Emily loved it, but she did tell me to say that if Vicky asked, her girlfriend Vicky asked, she hated it.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, okay, I'm not
Okay.
gonna I'm not
All
gonna
right.
jump on
Yeah.
that. I'm not gonna put my hat in the ring. No, yeah, I think everybody really enjoyed it. Um, more or less about the same that we did.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, because it was really weird because I felt like even our group wasn't really like laughing all that much,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
know?
don't. I don't know what it was. I thought it was really great. I think the I don't know, the advertising people did a great job because they really hid the plot well.
Oh
um
yeah,
from the trailers. Like, a lot of the plot I did not see coming. I wasn't expecting it.
yeah,
Even like, I don't want to talk about spoilers, but even like the antagonist of the film was not who I was expecting at all.
yeah,
So yeah, just different things like that. America Ferrera is barely in the trailer, and like she carried so much of that movie. I don't want to
yeah,
say she carried it all, because I mean everyone was great. Margot Robbie was great.
yeah,
Ryan Gosling, Greta Gerwig, man, just I hope they all get nominated, but especially
yeah,
America Ferrera.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I mean, like she gets the odd comparison, but she gets like the Tony Collette standing up, in the middle of Hereditary type of
Mhm.
speech about just pain. And
Yeah.
I think it's being referred to as the contradictory speech.
Yeah.
Where yeah, she just lays it all out of like this is what it's like to be a woman.
Yeah.
Um and like they're like, you could make the argument that like, and I've seen people say that like a lot of it did feel like heavy-handed, um especially that speech.
Yeah,
But for me, it's just kind of like, I mean, yeah, so
it's
what?
it's
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 true.
yeah,
Nothing in that is not true.
yeah, and just the setting and characters make it okay
Yeah,
because it is such an over the top film. You're literally in Barbie land, you
yeah,
know? So to have an the over the top plot like they do, which is very reflective of our own world in a lot of ways.
mhm,
I don't know, it just fit, and I guess I don't know. Maybe people are just thrown off because um, it was very animated. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
have to be when you're talking. This is a movie about toys.
yeah,
Real people, actors playing toys. Uh, it's gonna be not animated like physically, literally, but like just everything is bigger and larger than life. And there's something about that just that makes the themes so on point. You know what I mean? Kind of like kids, like the wisdom of children. They have the advantage of seeing things in black and white, good and evil, right and wrong. Whereas
yeah,
the older you get, you kind of gets more into the gray territory. Kids don't have that. And that's very much what Barbie feels like. There's like this innocence to it. And I mean, that's a big part of the movie, the loss of innocence and like growing
yeah,
up. But it's from the perspective of a toy. And it's
yeah.
just so I loved it. It was brilliant. It was awesome. Was there agenda? Sure. Of course there was. It's a Greta
Absolutely.
Gerwig movie.
Yeah.
But like I agreed with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's a Greta Gerwig movie. It's a
I
Barbie
I'm
movie.
laughing
Like,
at all these jokes
yeah.
about straight men and masculinity. And I mean, like, you know what? It's true. Yeah, like you said earlier, not a single thing of part of this was just made up. Like it's all true.
Yeah.
And I won't say what, but there is a Zack Snyder joke that I laughed so hard in. Uh
Oh man. Yeah,
awesome.
Kayla pointed that out too. She's just like, yeah, I
Yeah.
heard I heard both of y'all just like bust out laughing at
Yeah.
that part. And I was like, yeah, I think we were the loudest
Look,
ones in
look,
there.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like no hate to Zack Snyder. I am a fan of his, but yeah, I thought it was a well timed, well done joke.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
also, like, come on. It's not that serious, y'all.
yeah.
I've dipped my toe into, people like talking like their criticisms about the movie, and like you would think with some of these articles talking about like the Zack Snyder joke in Barbie, you'd think it's like the start of World War III.
You
Like,
think they're watching Oppenheimer? I was like, dude,
yeah,
it's a movie about Barbie. Like,
yeah,
it's fun. Just chill.
yeah, yeah. Like you don't need to go make 45-minute YouTube videos talking about how much you hated this movie and the shitty agenda about it. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a movie about toys, and if you got this pressed about it, that's on you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no,
So
I can't take you seriously.
yeah, exactly. It's just like if this film bothers you so much, I'm glad
Yeah,
because it's about toys and
yeah,
like this shouldn't be bothering you. You know what I mean? The things that are being brought up shouldn't be bothering you. Like
yeah,
all the conservatives, man, they're super like hating this movie because of the woke agenda and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, dude, it's pro women's rights. It's
yeah,
about finding yourself regardless of your gender, and like, yeah, man, it's just
yeah,
whatever.
and about rebelling against the patriarchy that is harmful to all the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like that. Like that's one of the biggest takeaways. That like obviously I can see how people can be so small minded and close minded to say that like, oh, this movie hates men. It's like this movie hates men and women equally, and they tell you that
Yeah,
because the system is only built to sustain one type of person,
yeah,
and none of those people are the people who are at the forefront of this movie. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's yeah, this movie is such a masterful takedown of that, and it shows in everybody. And yeah, no, you're dumb. You're dumb
Yeah.
if you like if that's your big takeaway from
And
it.
you know me, I'm all about subversion. So I love subverting um, the quotes and terms back
Yes.
against the people. So I'm
Yeah.
going to call it out right now. Like, you're a bunch of snowflakes. Like,
Yes.
if someone
Yes.
makes a joke about some, again, straight males' masculinity, in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, that was, if the joke works, of course, I'm like, yeah, that's funny. But at the same time, like, you know what? Men have been in charge for so long. I can take a hint or a
Yeah.
hit. I could take the hit, you know? It's not going to damage my fragile ego. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it's just like, grow up, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're not supposed to be promoting anything, but we did enjoy the Barbie movie.
We definitely enjoyed the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Uh
And Margot Robbie as well. We didn't really talk about her. She did really well.
oh yeah.
She obviously the look, she has the look, and they even there's a really fun reference,
There's a good joke in there
yeah,
about that.
to
Yeah.
her being the perfect Barbie. Um, but yeah, also her acting, man, she's a great crier. I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious. I still haven't seen Babylon, but I have seen the clip where like she cries on command,
Uh-huh.
and I'm kind of wondering, like, oh shit, can Margot Robbie actually do that? Because like she had several crying scenes in this film, and like she was just good, man. She was so good. I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
wow.
I honestly I think a lot of actors can.
Well,
Well, let me take that back.
I don't
I
know.
think a lot of good actors can. Because
Maybe.
again, going back to Toni Collette in Hereditary, when they were talking to her about like because like that role is so like emotionally draining, and
Yeah.
she's got so many moments where she's like crying and like pleading and exhausting. And when she was asked like how she dealt with that, she was just like, it's just a switch. As soon as they yelled
Yeah.
cut, I was out of it.
I mean, it
You know?
depends on your different acting styles as well, you know, because
Yeah,
if you're more method, you're really dragging your brain through some murky terrain, man. But
yeah,
if you're more kind of classically trained, then yeah, it's just acting. It's kind of
yeah.
like what you said. So it really depends on where you learned, how you learned, and just what kind of creator you are.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of curious about that because, dude, I also know
Ugh.
like sets, especially sets where there's crying, they have the guy with the eye drops on set. You know, I know a lot of
Oh
people
yeah,
who have used them,
I need
and
that for sure, 100%.
yeah, dude, like I don't know if I could cry on command. Like it depends. It has to be something real good. I was in a show in on stage, and there was I forgot what it was called, but I had like this big crying scene, and I felt like during the performance I didn't really deliver. I think I delivered a good performance, and everyone like complimented me for it and said I did great.
Yeah.
Um, and they're like, and they're like, why haven't you auditioned for more of our shows? I'm like, but I don't think the tear there were no tears. Maybe I got
Mm,
one, you know,
mm.
but like I wasn't crying and I was
Oh,
supposed to be.
oh, you're one of those. You can get
Yeah.
the one tear.
Yeah. But in the rehearsal, like the night before, a few days before, I did. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, I got there. I got there. But on show night, I didn't.
Ooh,
Um,
that's rough.
which is interesting though, because I felt like emotionally, I was in the character more. I feel like I did a better job without the tears, you know,
Yeah.
and the director was fine with it. I was just, there's always been a part of me that like wishes I could have done both. I
Mm,
could have
mm.
still reached that point with the crying.
Right.
So, or, you know, you could just do what the really good actors do. As soon as that first tear starts to come out, turn your head. You turn your head. Because nobody, Matt's acting tip 105, nobody in real life actually wants to be caught crying unless they have
Oh,
an agenda.
oh, hell yeah.
So as soon as those tears start, you're trying to hide your face. Brilliant, brilliant acting move right there.
Uh-huh.
That's what
Uh-huh.
I would have done if I had actually cried. I would have turned my head.
And everyone would have been like, ooh, ooh,
Ooh.
what an interesting choice. Bold,
Oh,
bold.
bold.
How
Yeah.
avant-garde. Wow.
I know. I know. Oh man. Yeah.
We gotta get you back on stage.
You know, I don't know. Granted, I'm in a weird place acting wise right now. Like, I
Oh, sure.
really, I really don't have a lot of drive to act. I miss it so much, but like, I don't have the drive. I don't have the hustle right now. I don't have the drive to put up with the bullshit and auditioning and all that stuff. And it's just like, we want you so much for this role. Audition with this one line of dialogue that has nothing to do with the character, you know?
um,
Yeah.
it's so funny. In the slight tangent, but in uh Dimension 20's season from I don't know, oh, wow, was this from last year? I think it's from last year. A Court of Fey and Flowers. So it's dealing with like the Fey, and all this stuff, but some of them have been to the material world, the human world. And
Uh-huh.
one of them throughout the thing, it's a running gag that there's this play. There's first it's a book, and then it becomes a play, and then there's talk of it becoming getting optioned to be a movie. It's called The Green Hunter. And for the longest time, it's like, oh yeah, it's just the thing, whatever. But as like they keep like building on it, becomes this joke. And then once it gets revealed that it's gonna be optioned off into a movie, uh they start building the sides that are going with the audition, and the
Uh-huh.
side is like it's two lines for this guy.
Uh-huh.
and and it's so wild and it's so great. And that just
Yeah.
reminded me of that. And it's so great because everybody has different opinions, like, oh yeah, I think because and that's who the character is, Dr. Green Hunter. He's a medical MD, but he still rides in the van, in the emergency van. um and yeah, like it's so wild, and like everybody's got different opinions on it, but the person who is writing it, who we find out is the actual author, is like, no, this is a Renner vehicle. This is for Jeremy Renner, and then it just takes off. The whole thing, it's wild.
Oh man. Yeah, man, like I know people who enjoy the auditioning process. They
Yeah.
they like thrive in it. They see it as a challenge. I've never been that guy. I think I've always been a bad auditioner. Like, maybe
Mm.
it's nerves, maybe it's whatever. Like, I give me,
It's like
eh,
the testing aspect of it.
well, kind of, but like, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because or bitching and whining. Like, I
Sure.
really love acting, but to me, that's just a job. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
people see the audition like, no, 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 that's the work. That's the work. I'm like, this isn't fucking work. This is two lines. I have no context for this. I'm just making it up. And it's like you're putting all this time and effort into a guess. You're guessing, You want it you want to show your vision of this character. That's what's going to get you a job. You have no idea what that vision is.
Yeah.
You're literally just making it up. And like to me that's the thing, like I want to care. Like I can't care about this fake character I'm making. It's playing pretend. That's what
Yeah.
auditioning is to me. Like it's work. It's just making shit up. It's playing pretend. Whereas if you're actually in a role somewhere, like on stage or in film or whatever, and you have the script and you have the story and you understand the role and what that role means to the story,
Mhm.
that's where the reality comes into it. And now I'm not saying give me a full 200-page script before an audition, and like the majority of actors out there are getting cast just doing a line or two,
Yeah.
and they getting into the callbacks. But like, I just I've never been a good auditioner, and I've never enjoyed the audition process.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's just me. And I've said it 100 times before, and I'll continue to say it. If I'm a creator and I'm looking to work with other creators, like actors, I want to give them every tool that I can possibly find to make sure they're the right ones and that we can work together.
Mhm.
So, no, two fucking lines is not going to cut it. And
Which is
also, the directors barely even do that. It's on the casting directors, and it's mostly the assistants. They're like, hey, find some good sides. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Holy shit, Sam. If I was casting something, I would pull the monologues from Penny Dreadful, be like, go for it. You don't
Yeah.
have to be off book. Just try to be off book. Go as far as you can.
Yeah.
Just give me everything you got. And I feel
Yeah.
like I can't do that in auditions. Like, I don't
It's
know.
so it's so wild. I briefly did auditions for like ABC projects. Then this was back when like Agents of Shield was on.
Yeah.
Um yeah, because like why not? I'm gonna shoot my shot, like just try it. And like I don't really have like too much like professional acting experience or any of that, but like yeah, I was just trying to do whatever. And yeah, it was so interesting because also this sort of similar time where the new Star Wars movies were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it a big thing, like we're casting unknowns for these two big roles. And
That was a weird one too. Because you
yeah,
remember that one? That was like I don't even think there was lines in that audition.
there were, but it was like you said, like both of the characters that became
I
Finn
I
and
think it
Ray,
was like
they had like two lines
I think it
each.
was like get well. The one I did was like get down. It was
Mm,
literally like two words, and it's
okay.
describing the action. And I'm like, what the hell?
It was yeah, it was something like that because it was something like quick over here,
Yeah,
get out of the way, and like that was it. And I was
yeah.
like,
I was like, whoa.
how do you cast off that?
I
How do
don't
you
know,
like?
man.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Um,
I mean, I
oddly
can see how
enough,
you could do it, but that seems like the hard way to do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem feasible to me.
yeah.
Like I don't know that unless like it's specifically for the role that does that. Like you're the guy, you're the rebel that gets the close up, right before everybody. You're the one leading the charge. You'd be like, follow me.
Hey,
Dun,
he's
dun,
over
dun,
here.
dun, dun. You're the guy who's up there, on the trenches, looking at the ground, licking the ground with your finger and being,
You
it's
see,
salt.
I feel like those are great for like voiceover auditions
Yeah.
because you could really do a lot vocally with those few words. Like it's really hard to not do it like an animated style, you know?
Yeah.
Grenade, 3 o'clock.
Funny enough, yesterday, while I was, recovering, I was just watching a lot of YouTube videos about filmmaking and movie making, and like hour 9 into my like watching these videos, it was already late at night. I ended up watching a whole video essay on Vin Diesel's multifacial.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I tried to find it and I found it and I watched it. It's only like 20 minutes. Yeah, fascinating. Fascinating project. But I feel like it speaks to exactly what, we were talking about. And I had no idea this was how he got his start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like he's a bouncer, and at night he's going bouncing, or he's bouncing, at clubs, and during the day he's going to auditions and he's
Mm.
trying to get work, and he's doing that, trying to figure all that out. And it's so interesting here listening, because they're so in the video essay they're also like intercutting it with like Jimmy Kimmel and Letterman interviews with Diesel. And essentially it's kind of the same stuff that you and I have talked about off pod, about like us. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, we're Mexicans, but like we don't have that sort of Hollywood type of look
Yeah.
that says that. And there's a whole part in the movie where like Vin Diesel, he's there, he's talking to somebody else who's going to go reading. Casting agent shows up. Second he finds out it's Vin Diesel who's going to read for the part, he looks him up and down and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're too light for us.
Mm,
Like I can still take you in and do the reading, but we're looking for somebody who's a little bit darker."
yeah.
And yeah, Vin's just like, "Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and kind of the same thing. Like, how do you get casted off of like these little things? If you do a monologue, like, is it are you doing? How do you come off when you do this type of monologue, especially if it's something that's a little like off color piece, not necessarily PC?
Hmm.
Like, what are they going to think about you? It's like, do you like you came with that, so what does that do? And yeah, like it was such an interesting it was such an interesting short and a really good video essay. And I didn't realize that like he did that, took it to Sundance, just trying to like get money, trying to do all this stuff. And that short one put him on the line for Brad Bird. But it also, after he ended up making another movie that was didn't do as well, but Spielberg saw that movie, and then
Hmm.
he went back and saw Multifacial, and then casted him in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Literally wrote Vin Diesel into Saving Private Ryan like months before they had to start shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, back to Multifacial, like people around the Warner Brothers office had seen it, and they told Brad Bird, and Brad Bird saw it, and he was like, "Hey, like this guy's got a great voice and he's going to be in a Spielberg picture, but that doesn't come out for a while. Let's get him." And that's how he gets Iron Giant.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy how like even so like somebody like that, comes from a background similar to us where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, there are no opportunities, so he just kind of had to do it on his own.
Dude, yeah, I mean that's where I'm at right now. It's like, well shit, man. What am I doing? What am I gonna do? I gotta do it on my own. Because that's kind of the thing with like I've been saying, I'm very jaded with auditioning right now. Like, no matter how hard I work, the only callbacks I get are for the Mexicans.
Yeah.
And by Mexicans I mean stereotypical janitor, drug dealer,
Yeah.
abusive boyfriend,
Thug
and
with
I'm
a
just
bat. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, oh god, so many of that during the pandemic because it was all video
Yeah.
auditions, so I got a lot of callbacks, and it was all the same guy. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, so yeah, kind of like that. What you're saying, like, oh, you're not dark enough for us. That was kind of my introduction to Hollywood, man. Like, oh, you don't sound Mexican.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. It's like you speak really good English. Like,
Yeah,
thanks.
my actual first introduction into that world was within a week of moving to LA. I was cast in a pilot.
Mm.
I auditioned. And I was surprised too because like I was not happy with the audition at all, um, especially because something happened. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like a screw up on their end or my end, but I only got half of the printout
Oh.
because it was technically like two things you're auditioning for. It was like a
Uh,
character and then like aliens, I guess. They're like, this is so low budget.
oh,
You're
this is
also
the
going
sci-fi
yeah,
thing.
this is a sci-fi thing. You're it's so low budget, like we're gonna double up. So you'll be one of the cast members, but when you're not in the scene, you'll play an alien in costume.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't get like the second page or whatever where it was talking about you need to do like a physical audition,
Oh.
and you have to demonstrate communication with no language. And I'm like, oh fuck. So I was kind of making it up on the spot. I kind of stole a move from the guy before me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. Like I had nothing. I was not prepared for that. Um, but yeah, surprisingly enough, like I got a role, and the guy he woke me up from a nap. So I was like, oh hello. I was like, what? He's like, and like he seemed pretty excited. He's like, yeah, man. I want you for the show, blah, 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 but you're not going to be in the pilot. All right. First red flag goes off. He's like, but you're going to be in the rest of the series. We'll introduce you in episode 2, blah, blah, blah.
Huh.
Uh,
So
I
not
think
even as an alien, you weren't going to
well,
be in the
yeah, I think
pilot?
he even said like, yeah, we'll just bring you in for the second episode. I'm like, yeah, because my alien audition sucked. Um, he's like, I even have his name and everything. And I was like, oh, that's cool. All
Cool, man.
right. Cool, man. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. We'll just keep me informed, man. I'll be here. And that was it. And like never heard from this guy again.
And that
Um,
show was Battlestar Galactica.
oh God, no.
Ooh.
Way before my time.
No, I know.
But I kind of kept up with like the progress of it, but like they filmed the pilot super low budget. I didn't get to see it, but I just saw like production photos and stuff, and it didn't really go anywhere. I thought it was an
Mm.
interesting concept, but I don't know. The guy kind of seemed ended up seeming like a jerk, kind of like in hindsight.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. Whatevs. So I'm like, that was kind of my introduction, because even when he said not going to be in the pilot, I'm like, hold up. This is only getting made if the pilot sells.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the chances that you're actually giving me a job are slim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was smart enough to recognize that. I definitely could have handled the situation better, but also I was half asleep. So I'm just like, he's like, yeah, I even have the character's name. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Cool, man. Well, just keep me updated. It's like, and that was it. I
Wow.
never even learned the character's name.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Well,
oh,
well, this is probably good because you could have it could have gone in like the whole other like sci-fi direction and be like, oh yeah, and this is the rebel pilot, the breaker of hearts across the star system. Oingo boingo. Glib glob.
Cube Glob. Man, who was the like assistant in uh Around the World in what is it? Around the World in 80 Days?
Oh,
Right? That's what it's called.
yeah.
It's some Mexican guy or some Spanish guy, and like he's such a womanizer. I'm like, really? This is the Mexican part? I'm like,
Yeah,
great.
of course, of
So
course.
yeah. Um but it was a bummer because I was looking forward to it. It was science fiction. So
Yeah.
but then after that is when I got the infamous audition line. Wow, you don't sound Mexican. Okay, that's a red flag for sure.
Wow. We kind of bounced around a lot today, didn't we?
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember what time we got started. I think it's been over an hour already.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah. So,
um,
guys,
yeah.
this is us floundering, man. We're trying to find stuff to do in during the strike.
We'll
But I
figure
think we
it
had a
out,
pretty
you know?
solid conversation.
Yeah.
I was gonna call this episode "Girls' Night" in honor of Barbie, but we never mentioned "Girls' Night" whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'm gonna have to
yeah.
come up with another title now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is why I don't come up with the titles beforehand.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good. That's
yeah,
good, you know?
keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the
guys,
title.
keep it fresh, guys. Thanks for joining us for this another episode of us trying to figure out what to do. We're just gonna keep on trucking, and
Yeah.
hopefully within the next week we find out more from SAG because it's like I feel like we're getting a little bit more every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
or at least we could find something to watch and work on. So yeah, as always, you can find me on Twitter _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Oh
I'm s-
wait, it's
I'm
not Twitter
sorry.
anymore.
It's
You can find
X.
me on X,
Oh God.
which is the dumbest thing because you can't Google it.
No, you can't.
Sorry, man. You type in X and like
I'm sorry.
porn is like the first 20 pages.
Yes, that's exactly why. This is why Elon Musk was kicked off of PayPal because he was trying to change it to pay to like X PayPal.
Ah.
And like, yeah, it's like that's literally what
It's
they were
kind of
telling
like
him. They're
it's kind of like
like,
Hardcore Henry when the movie was
yeah,
first being promoted. It was just called Hardcore, and they could not look it up. Like
yeah,
you type in Hardcore, and you don't want to know what comes up.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
Hardcore. So
yeah,
like they had to finally change it to Hardcore Henry. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
One of my
So
favorite movies. Not in my top 10, but it gets an honorable mention.
I don't know. know, dude. With the amount of times you watched it, like in 2020 alone,
I've
I feel
probably
like it's
watched
top
that
10.
movie at least 10 times.
I
X
feel like,
Roman numeral times.
wow, bringing it all
Yeah.
back.
Actually, speaking of top 10s, you know what film I think made it into my top 10? Because I
What?
just rewatched it a few weeks ago.
What?
Starship Troopers.
Oh,
I was watching it. I'm like, is this a top 10 movie? What
could
am I going to
be.
kick out? Because I'm like, it's so good, but it's good for the right reasons because I understand, appreciate, and love the satire.
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm, mm. Very true. Very true.
same thing
Maybe
with
this is,
like, same thing with Fight Club. You know,
yeah,
it's like I love the message of that movie, not what the characters are message actually is. You know,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, like I think Starship Troopers is in my top 10. I'm gonna
Interesting.
have to go back and reevaluate. Something's gonna have to get the boot.
Hey, maybe we'll talk about this next week.
I know we can't rewatch movies, but we'll talk about.
Well, no, we can rewatch movies.
No, we can't. That's what we're
Oh,
saying because
oh
it's
crap.
promotion.
That's right. Well, we'll
Um,
just talk about our favorite movies growing
oh
up because we
God,
won't really be promoting that. Maybe I don't know.
that's yeah, that's what I think. Like we're kind of just talking about it. Oh
Yeah,
man,
the top 10 movies that have inspired us. There we go.
we'll get to it next week because or next week because I'm looking at my top 10 list right now. I don't know what I'm going to kick off of it.
Uh-oh.
There's one, but I don't want to kick it off. We'll see. And I also have an honorable mention, so that's going to make it even
Ooh,
harder.
great.
Yeah. Guys, let us know. Hit us up on X at hashtag Lost Legacies. Let us know your top 10 films of all time. Oh, and I'm also on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram
Yeah.
and Threads at
Oh,
Real,
there you
that's
go.
REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Yeah. Until next time,
Oh,
guys.
I'm also on Blue Sky as well.
Oh,
So,
how's that?
you know, eh, it's it has its moments. It's a lot. I can't get into it right now.
You know, Blue Sky should take this opportunity to use a bird as their logo.
Hell yeah. Do it, Blue Sky. Do it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right, guys. I had fun. We'll see you or hear you next time, or you'll hear us next time.
Yeah.
Then get lost.
Get lost.